And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how we can apply the 60-30-10% rule to make your UI designs coloring a lot better. Now, if you're ready and you want to get started, let's just go. Hi, my name is Khalid Mani for Digital Perspective, and in today we're going to be taking a look at a very cool trick which architects used when they're designing their interior models and how they apply something that they refer to as a 60-30-10% rule, and we're going to use the same rule and apply that to our digital designs, whether it's our UI, our apps, our websites, wherever it is. Now, before we get started on how we apply that to our websites and our UI design, let me quickly give you a brief overview of what it is, the 60-30-10% rule, in case you don't know. Now, you can see here as an image that I've pulled up, you can see an interior design of a kitchen layout, but you can see aesthetically, looking at the image, the colors are beautiful. They work, they match, they're not overpowering, they work together, and this is what architects do when they're choosing the colors that they want to decide with. And the colors that they've decided to go in this instance is they've used 60% kind of a light beige grayish kind of color, and then 30% of dark charcoal color, and a 10% of a red accent color. Now, if we take the same rule and we apply that to our website design, we'll get a similar feel, a similar layout of making things, the hierarchy visuals are going to be much better when it comes down to our design. So let me pop over to XD, and you can see how I've just quickly mocked up, nothing special, I've just quickly mocked up a front page of a travel app, so to speak. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually create our visual hierarchy here. Right now, I've got 3 levels of gray here. I'm just going to make this gray quickly a little bit darker. Right, so I've got 3 levels of gray here, which is obviously going to be our 10%, 30%, our 60%, and obviously the darker color is going to be our 60%. Our gray is going to be middle gray is going to be 30%, and on the light gray is going to be our 10%. So I've gone ahead and I've actually kind of colored in, and I've said, you know what, I want to make these buttons, home button here, and the circle button behind the map button, I want to make that 30%. Now, this version here is a predominantly light version where white is going to be a dominant color. Now, white technically shouldn't be classified as a color, but we should consider that as white space, right? Now, once we are actually, I'm just going to duplicate and copy that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a second version where this is going to be predominantly more colorful. So we're going to use the 30%, the 60% a lot more than we did on the previous version, right? So if we say, for example, I want to change the background to have the 60%, I want to change, just going to change the menu items here to white. I want these to be white as well, since it's going to be predominantly taken over by a dominant color. And now, always remember as well, while designing, about contrast, right? Contrast is very important, because if you don't have the right level of contrast, then it's obviously going to be harder to read, and in certain places, people with accessibility will not be able to use your website effectively, right? So I just want to change this to white, right? So this version is going to predominantly be our strong colored version, right? And then lastly, I'm just going to quickly duplicate that, drag that over here. And this one's going to be our dark UI theme version. So obviously this one is just going to have predominantly a darker color. Now, the reason why I'm selecting the color from here and not from the color palette is because I don't want the background to be different. I want the background to be dark intentionally. However, we're going to use maybe the titles to be our 60% color. These titles are going to be our 60% color. Maybe even the menu is going to be our 60% color. Apply border to that. And for the buttons, the circle, we're going to make it our 60% color. The home button, I'm going to make it 60% color. Now, obviously, you've noticed we haven't used our accent color at all at any point. Now, the accent color is usually for things like very small things like notifications, perhaps, which I can use there. And obviously, I want to use these buttons here for my secondary color, which is the 30%, and I even want to make this darker as well, right? So really quickly, just to give you an overview, I've created 3 versions. One's going to be our light version, where the actual main color isn't going to be dominated by the white, but it's still going to be the dominant color on the screen. And then on the second version, we can use that dominant color, or the 60%, as the main focus. So this is, think of it as like a colorful background. You know, it's going to be very strong in terms of color. And our last one here is just going to be the dark UI version, where the black is going to be the color, but then we're going to use our main color to perhaps maybe, you know, color the titles and the menu buttons, the burger buttons, the circle buttons here, and the home buttons, for example, right? So now I've gone ahead and quickly just added some images to these boxes here, just to give you some, you know, just to give you kind of some visual hierarchy. So you can see here, obviously now we've taken the next step, which is we've added images, but we still don't have the colors. Now is the best part. Now is where we start applying the colors, and this is going to be very cool. So I've got here, I basically use colors.co to pick up my color palettes. It's a very good website, and all you need to do is just hit space and you instantly just get a range of colors. Now what I need to do is I'm going to pick colors which are very similar to the picture we saw, and just want to show you how that translates from architecture to website design. So I quite like this color. I'm going to lock this color. I quite like this color. I'm going to lock this color, and we need perhaps some sort of a nice little red, which here we go, right? So I'm going to take these three colors here, right? So I'm just going to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my first color, which let's just say it's the red. Copy that. I'm just going to drag that over to the side, right? So if I go back to here, now I'm just going to make these three boxes, which are going to have my three colors, right? So just don't need the borders. That's my first color, and that's my second color, and that's my third color, right? So now that we have the three colors here, what we can do is we can go ahead and select our first main color, right click it and click edit, and then click on the eyedropper tool, and we can select whichever one we want our dominant color to be. Now obviously at this stage you'll have some sort of brand guidelines or brand colors. If you don't, great, make your own color palette. Now in this instance I'm going to pick the magenta color to be our dominant color, right? And you can instantly see what this has done just by looking at it, how it's affected all my 60% color palette that I've selected, and it even does it for the same here as well. If you go back to the top right, and you can see how already this has made our life a lot easier. Now let's go ahead and pick our secondary color, and this is the 30% color. So if I right click on that, click edit, and let's say we want our charcoal color to be the secondary color, right? And you can see here obviously it's colored things in there. You can see the black there. And then let's do the same thing for the last color. Click edit, hit the eyedropper tool, and perfect, right? So now what you already have is you have the colors that you selected already placed into the three different versions of the design. So just zoom out a little bit. Actually, let me close this. Right? So you can see it's already created those three different versions of my color palette, and this is very quick, and this is why I love XD personally. You can be very quick when it comes down to changing the colors to find the right color hierarchy, because obviously you have to think about things like this here. Is it legible? If it's not legible, does that mean that you have to think about the entire color structure, or do you just change it for that specific one, right? Now very simply I can go back into here. Let's say I want to change my order. I want to edit this, and I want this to be a different color, right? Let's say I want this to be a nice little blue. I want my secondary color to be a nice little orange, perhaps, maybe. Right? And I quite like the beige on the last one. And again, very quickly, you can see how that's already changed my color palette in all three different versions of the design, right? And very simply, one thing I'm last going to do is I'm actually going to take that image again. Where is it? I'm going to drag that image here. So this was the image we were looking at earlier on, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly do the same thing. Take the 60% here, take the 30% there, and take the 10% there, right? Now, delete that. Now, just by looking at the design, right, you can see how obviously these color choices are probably not going to be fantastic because of the contrast. Now, some people can probably still see this, but I like to still make sure that my contrast is very high, so that at least then, you know, there is no kind of gaps for mistakes and stuff like that. But again, it still colors things in quite nicely, which I quite like. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. So remember, whenever you're coming down to your coloring, remember the 60-30-10% rule, and it will make your coloring a lot better, I promise. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn that notification bell on. It does help us beat the YouTube algorithm. If you want more videos, be sure to click the videos over there and some more videos down there. And while you're here, hit the subscribe button if you can. And until the next one, I'll see you then. Peace.